I'm reviewing here! Hello, everybody. Sorry. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of I'm Reviewing Here, a podcast where I, Matthew Bussey, watches and reviews Sight and Sound's top greatest movies of all time. Sorry. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just very, very, very busy and overwhelmed and tired. And I just thought about something really, really funny. Just a funny memory that you're not gonna laugh at, but sorry. I shouldn't say who because they listen to this, but it's a stupid story. When I was a kid, the trailer for 300 came out. You know, 300. We are Spartans or Sparta. Sorry. The trailer had debuted, and I was like, oh, cool. And I showed someone the trailer, and when the trailer ended, she turned to me and she thought that the movie was called Zoo, not 300. Zoo. Sorry. It just made me laugh. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, I'll get it together. Yeah, it's exhaustion, people. It's stress and exhaustion. It's just a very busy time right now in my life, and I'm good. I'm good. I am good. I meditated for 20 minutes today. I'm good. I really am. Thinking of a lot of happy things, watching a lot of movies and shows. Sort of. Well, not a lot of these movies I've been reviewing have been happy. But oh God, you guys probably think I'm like stoned or something. No, I swear to God, I'm not stoned. I don't smoke. Shockingly, I don't. This is okay. Well, first of all, Oscars just happened. Hello, guys. I'm a hypocrite. In the last episode, I was like, I don't like the Oscars. I loved the Oscars that just took place last Sunday. Or whenever this episode airs, just whenever the Oscars aired. What month is it? I don't even freaking know. Okay, complaints. They did not need to play the Little Mermaid trailer. That was just unnecessary. That could have been a commercial. I don't get why that had to be part of the Oscars. I don't know. The movie looks cool, but I don't get how when they're singing underwater, there aren't any bubbles coming out of their mouths. That's kind of odd. But yeah, that was unnecessary, and the Malala part was just, I was like cringing at that. Like, Jimmy Kim, Jesus, what are you doing? Just like, she doesn't want to joke. Like, just get off of that. But I loved all the winners. Like, not just Everything Everywhere All at Once. I love that Sarah Polley won for Women Talking. She's an amazing actress too. Dawn of the Dead, the remake, that's her. I don't know why I said Dawn of the Dead like that. But she won. I'm so happy that RRR won Best Original Song. Well, scandal, shame overall. That should have won Best Picture, not Everything Everywhere All at Once, but didn't even get a freaking nomination. Bastards and bitches. No, overall though, I was very pleasantly surprised. I was not surprised to go online the next day and see all the diatribe and all the tweets about Angela Bassett didn't win, justice for Angela Bassett, and Hugh Grant was so mean on that red carpet, justice for that woman who interviewed him. I mean, again, it's just, oh, and also, yeah, people are mad that The Whale won Best Makeup because they feel like The Whale is fat-shaming people. Okay. Deep breath. It's okay to have your own opinion. I actually really like The Whale. Darren Aronofsky, any movie he makes, you will love it or you will hate it. I tend to love his movies. I'm never ever in my life watching Requiem for a Dream ever again, just because that was so disturbing. But Mother, I loved. And yeah, The Whale. It was a little cheesy, but I loved it though. I just burped. I'm sorry. I was very I'm thinking of the zoo joke again. Yeah, so what was I saying? Why are people so upset about that? I don't know, because people have nothing better to do. Why am I doing this podcast? I don't know, because I got nothing better to do either. Man, oh man. Yes, but overall though, I was very happy with all the winners. Guys, Angela Bassett will win an Oscar one day, and if she doesn't win, she will get an honorary Oscar. I love Angela Bassett with all my heart and soul and mind and teeth. I mean, I just think that she's amazing. I also love her more in American Horror Story Coven. Like, that is just one of my favorite performances that she's ever given. Oh my god, she's so good. She is just so freaking good. And Hotel, American Horror Story Hotel, she was so badass in that. No, but she's amazing though. I honestly just personally thought Jamie Lee Curtis did a better job. I just thought it was a better performance. That's all. I love Deirdre in that movie. That character was just you meet Deirdre's like every day, you know. And Angela Bassett, yeah, it was good. It was a good performance. I just didn't know. I didn't think it was Oscar worthy. Yeah, that's my 2 cents though. I'm not going to be mean. I'm never mean. I mean, I did just call the Oscar people bastards and bitches, but you know, I'm semi joking. It's the exhaustion. It's the exhaustion talking. It's also late right now on a work day, work night. So anyway, down to movie time. Today, my friends, we're going to talk about a very well-known movie. Just kidding. This is a very obscure movie. I had never heard of it before. Man, oh man, am I glad I saw it. I thought it was phenomenal. This movie, my friends, well, it has 2 titles. It's called SOLEIL, or O, comma, sun. No, you don't say, oh, I'm screwing this up. SOLEIL, let's just call it that. Or if you're American and you don't like French, just O, sun. O, comma, sun. But I'm going to call it SOLEIL. Okay, I'll shut up now. Here is the real trailer for the movie.
Enlighten me then.
That's it! There's a lot of sex in it throughout the whole movie! Wink, wink. No. Guys, there's no trailer for Soleil. I looked everywhere, and there's none. There's a clip on YouTube, but the whole movie's in French, so, you know, like, what's the whole point here? Why am I going all Boston all of a sudden? No, that was just the trailer for 50 Shades of Grey. There's no sex in Soleil. 50 Shades of Grey, God, do you remember when that trailer came out and everybody was like, ah? I mean, I totally was not like that at all. I didn't care at all. I didn't see the movie. I didn't buy the movie on Blu-ray or do any of that. No, guys are silly. Why would you think that? No, I did see that in theaters, though, with my friends, and I remember very vividly, we all took a picture. We got dinner before the movie. And then we got a picture in the restaurant, and I posted it on Instagram, and I made the Instagram caption, "Drink before kink." Yeah. And then President Barack Obama saw it, and he liked it. Now, Soleil. Wow. Now, this is hands down the most experimental movie that I have seen so far in this list. Like, hands down. Hands down. Now, experimental cinema, it can be very good or very bad. You either hate it or you love it. It's either very well done, as it is in Soleil, or it's very pretentious and terrible. I know this because at film school, I had to watch a lot of crappy movies by fellow students who were like 19 and acted like they were like Spielberg and were like, oh, well, I have just made so many splendid movies. You're who the hell are you? What are you? You know, and I say that with, you know, a little bit of spite because they weren't nice. And anyway, they're movies that some of the movies I had to watch that were experimental made positively no sense. And our teacher, meanwhile, would like have like a hard on and be like, that was just amazing. I remember one specific movie, a guy in my class filmed his roommate throwing up naked in a toilet. And that was the movie. I don't understand. I remember another person made a movie that it was a pan shot of a pan shot for those who don't know. It's just when the camera moves very softly, like to the left or to the right. It was a pan shot of someone in a jail cell masturbating. And that was the movie. Are you kidding? At least I tried to make movies that had like a little bit of a story in it, but people never friggin' understood them ever. And every time I did try to write something serious, like this has been my thing with writing quote unquote experimental films. I try to add like a story in it, or like a real meaning, but people completely misinterpret it. I remember one time, it wasn't a movie, but in high school, I had to write a poem, and I love reading about alien abductions. Yeah, it's really cool. It's like a hobby of mine. Um, so I wrote a poem about someone who gets abducted, and my teacher saw it, and she said, "What?" She wrote in the notes, "Wow, this is a beautiful depiction of heroin addiction." Heroin addiction? No, the alien is sticking a needle into the person's arm while they sleep so that they'll fall asleep when they abduct them and then take them to the ship. That's what I was going for, not heroin. Are you kidding me? I wrote another story this in my screenwriting class. It was a story about, it was meant to be a metaphor for toxic relationships and alcohol dependency. And it was so annoying. Everyone got to read it in class, and then everyone got to go around and say what they thought about it. And like five people, the first five people were like, you know what? It really reminded me of like a cross between Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey. Guys, no, that's not a compliment. No, no, that's not what I was going for. No. No, I'm actually serious. I'm not. I know the people who know me who are like rolling their eyes. No, I was not going for that when I wrote a story about toxic relationships and drug dependency because there are vampires in the book in the story. I think I still have that. I think it's in my bedroom at home. Anyway, SOLEIL. So this was again, it's one of those movies that, got restored. It was restored by the African Film Heritage Project. It came out in 1967. It debuted at the Cannes Film Festival in 1970. Wow, I forget how old the Cannes Film Festival is. It premiered at the Locarno Film Festival, that's in Switzerland, the Berlin Film Festival. And it's a Mauritanian film. Mauritania, for those who are illiterate with geography, Mauritania is a country. Come on, people. And it's by this really unique director. He passed away, I think, a couple years ago. His name was, and I hope I'm saying this right, Med Hondo. Hondo? Yeah. You can see a lot in this movie that you can tell that a lot of it seems like a little bit autobiographical. When you read about Med Hondo's life and then you watch this movie, you go, "Oh, I see. He wrote and directed this." Now, how do I explain this movie? It's in a lot of ways, it's like the very first movie I reviewed on this podcast. Oh my God, what was it called? Born to Rise, Born in Flames, Flames and Rise. The very first movie. You know that movie I'm talking about, yeah. Born in Flames. I think that's what it was called. I compare the two because, yeah, they're both, there's not a linear storyline in either of the movies. Not exactly. SOLEIL, there's a main character in it, but we never find out his name. There's not a story in it per se. There are scenes. It's filmed in a very cinema verite style. Now, it's actually pronounced cinema verite, but I don't want to be annoying. I'm already annoying enough, so. Cinema verite, for that term, basically means when a movie is filmed and when a narrative is filmed very much like a documentary and when it feels very, very much like a documentary. But it's not. It's all actors, but they don't act like they're actors because they're good at it. I mean, that's good. SOLEIL is entirely that. It is a cinema verite movie. It breaks the fourth wall. Like, characters will talk right to the camera and then other characters will come in and like interrupt them. I'm going to get to a scene like that later on when I discuss this. But it's that. It's a lot of things. What I loved about SOLEIL, it took me a little while to get into it because, yeah, like a lot of experimental movies, you're like, what the heck is going on? I have no idea what's going on. But by the end, I was so... I wanted to like applaud, like clap at this movie, but I was home alone when I watched it. So, and even if I was with people and they just saw me clapping, that'd be weird. But no, SOLEIL, though, like, I love it because you know why? It's a few reasons. It's a very relevant movie, which is very sad. This is a very sad movie. I should add that. Um, but it's also like a very comical movie. And you know why I loved it? Because, Med Hondo, you know what he does in this movie? He pokes so much fun at these white racists in the country, in France, that is. That's where this movie's set. He shows them in such a bad way. And for me, I think for a lot of us living in 2023, the fact that are still so many racists out there are still so many anti-Semites and misogynists and Islamophobes, whatever they're called, so many people who hate other people for the dumbest reasons. You see it depicted in this movie, and it's done in such an oddly comical way. Overall though, like this, it's just, yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. I got distracted. That happens a lot when I'm really into a movie. I'll be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. There are so many things though. Like I took copious amounts of notes while watching this movie. So Au Soleil overall, how do I explain it in one word? What's my elevator pitch? That makes no sense. Soleil is basically a movie about the Black immigration experience, particularly in the 20th century, but more so, even further back. It just shows you what it's like to be Black, to immigrate from Africa to another country. It doesn't even have to be France, just to move to another country and to face all the BS prejudice and the racists and these white Anglo-Saxon Protestant bastards. This movie got me very mad. I mean, it did, because I take this very, I get so offended by racists, I mean, oh, don't go into politics, Matt, don't get into politics. I'm not going to get into politics, but, U.S. politics, that is. But going back to the director, though, Med Hondo, just a very quick summary of him. So, he died in 2019. Oh, he was a Mauritanian director. He was born there. His mother was Mauritanian. His father was Senegalese. He first went to Morocco to learn to become a chef, and then he moved to France. He first went to Marseille, and then he went to Paris, and he got a whole bunch of different jobs. He was a laborer. He was a waiter. He was a delivery man. He was a chef. And, there were a whole lot of other African immigrants there, too. And you know what they all shared in common? People treating them like horse shit. Pardon my French. But, yeah. Positively every white person there being like, oh, we don't really want Black people coming here. You guys are just gonna, take over all of our jobs, and it's infuriating. And that really happened. I mean, it's still happening. Look at Brexit. Look at like so many countries right now. That I think, again, this is why movies like this are so important when they're restored and people all these years later get to see them, because this is such a relevant movie. You watch this movie and every frame, every moment, you're like, wow, that's like happening in real life right now. I mean, it is. And to think that this was made in the in the 60s, I often wonder like what the reaction must have been like when it first came out. Like, did people actually take it seriously? Because I gotta tell you, look, when I grew up in a very, 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 I mean, I'm not racist. I'm not racist. I grew up, though, in a very white town. And I remember going to school, like elementary school, and, our teachers, they would tell us about Martin Luther King Jr. and prejudice and racism, but they didn't do it very well. They didn't do it very well. You know why? Because they kind of basically would tell us, like, it was really bad, but it's better now. And I took that with me. I remember, like, I would, like, tell my parents that, and they would kind of, like, pat me on the back and be like, yeah, son, like, it's gotten a little better, but no, like, there are still a lot of racists in this world, and it's really sad. And, like, me being a kid, I would be like, but look at the Disney Channel, like, it's so diverse. Look at Remember the Titans, like, they don't like each other, and then they do at the end. They get over each other's, skin, the color of each other's skin, and their issues with that. And I, as a kid, just would think, it's done. Like, it was really bad in the 60s, but blah, blah, blah. But no, it's all good. And it's just, it breaks my heart that, on this day right now, it's 2023, and, like, this crap is still going on. And SOLEIL, I mean, it's powerful in that it really does kind of galvanize you into like into getting upset, honestly. Um, but again, I'm okay. So I say again because it's an upsetting movie. But again, Hondo though I'm sorry, oh God, I keep saying again. I'm sorry. Oh, I just did it again. Again. Hondo just he plays so much with this movie. He makes it so many things. The opening of this movie is so bone chilling. It opens up on there's the shot. There's a whole group of African men, and there are just voiceovers that you overhear, and the men are just staring at the camera, and they look so sad. They look so mad. They look so frustrated, and it looks like they're in pain. And the narration is just so bone chilling because it's literally them going, we had a life, like we had a family, we were happy once, and look at us now. I mean, I get chills just thinking about it. You look at like pictures of slaves from like the slavery days, and it's very it's similar to that. You see those pictures and you can just like hear that voice when you're watching this movie. You can like picture them imagine saying that too, or imagine thinking that in their head. So the movie starts off, already like boom, like this movie sinks its hooks into you because that is a very effective shot. That's a simple way to use the camera, to use a few actors, and to use just some simple narration to really affect you in a brilliant way. This movie's in black and white too. I didn't say that at the beginning. I'm sorry. This is a black and white movie. En français. So yeah, we see these African immigrants, and they've arrived in France, and then Hondo, he does this very unusual. There's this very unusual scene that he does where each of the immigrants, they're handed these like swords, but they don't even look like swords. They look like crosses, like the Holy Trinity cross or whatever. And there are these like two old white guys, and they basically ask all of the Africans to fight one another, and they do it, but the Africans like aren't really fighting. It just looks like they're play fighting, so it's like all pretend. And you get that you soon understand, like, okay, this is meant to be like a joke, like this is meant to be over the top and fake, because Hondo is showing us just the history of colonization and the history of fighting, the history of what's the opposite of peace? Not peace. I can't think of the word. He's showing us that, and he just does it in such an absurd way. Like, there are so many absurd moments in this movie, but again, there's no story in this. If you read the plot for this on IMDb, it just basically says it's about a group of immigrants, African immigrants, coming to France and facing, rejection and prejudice and racism and all that jazz. It is essentially a movie about that, but it mostly follows, though, this one man. He doesn't have a name. He's simply known as the Visitor. He's played by this man named Robert Lianceau. I don't think he did a lot after this. I mean, yeah, there's like no one recognizable in this movie at all, but he plays such a sweet man. He's just a sweet middle-aged man. He has experience with accounting, and he, arrives from Mauritania to France, to Paris, that is. This is the 60s, and immediately he can't get work. He sees job offers for, they're looking for accountants, and he goes to, get interviewed, and these white a-holes they look at him like he's a bug, and they just go, no. And this poor guy is just like, but it says that you're hiring, and they just go, no. 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 Yeah, and then they just walk off. Happens again and again and again. And the Visitor, I'm going to refer to him as that. That is how he's referred to. He, he's someone who is just so used to this that there are moments where he just like laughs, He laughs it off. He does. There's a very bizarre but, funny moment where Hondo really makes fun of white racists, where he, the visitors, and he ends up in this like apartment building, and he overhears this white couple arguing, and they're screaming at each other. And it's a very interesting scene because they're screaming and the guy's watching them, and suddenly they stop speaking French and they just start screaming like gibberish at each other. It's like they're like dogs. It's like they're barking at each other. It's like, no, 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 dang put, like, like they just start doing that. Also, for those of you who don't know French, what I just said is, no, you're a bitch. Pute. Um, do not call your mother or your girlfriend that, or your friend or anyone that. It's a very bad word, but it's just a fun word to say in French. Pute. Um, but like, yeah, that's just another example. And there's so many other just quick shots in this movie where you just see how racism is just so socially acceptable. Like the visitor is traveling, he's walking through the streets of Paris, and there's a sign that says "Travel to Black Africa," or don't let this black, oh yeah, they use this a lot, black invasion. Don't let this black invasion happen. The visitor, he, again, like I said, is used to this. He eventually, joins a few other black immigrants. They form a union. This terrifies, the white people in town. And Hondo, he cross-cuts a lot of scenes with the visitor talking to these white guys, and then these white guys talking straight to the camera as if they're in a documentary. There's one shot where this guy says, we don't want them here. It's nothing personal, but just they're different, and we don't want them to take the jobs away, and they're different. And then he says the dumbest thing. He basically says like, we like different things. Like we eat potatoes and we like them. And then the visitor comes into the frame, interrupts him, and just goes, "We like potatoes too." Like, dumbass. Like, what are you talking about? There's a line in this movie that really, it's heartbreaking, but it really, stuck out. It's where the visitor, I believe it's in narration, he says, white people, they believe that there are three species on this planet: white people, animals, and black people. Guys, like, that ideology, all these years later, is like still so relevant to so many racists in the world. I'm not just talking about the United States of America. I'm talking everywhere. It's pathetic. It's dumb. This movie gets you mad. It gets you really upset because it made me go, it reminded me of being a kid again and thinking like, it's better now. And I think SOLEIL, it has that power in showing you like, hate to burst your bubble, but no, it's not. And, God, again, there's no real plot in this movie. There are a lot of scenes that are left up for interpretation that are just, very bizarre, but very hypnotically done, very, wild, too, and again, there's also just a lot of funny moments, funny, hyperbolic moments where, again, Hondo is just showing the white upper class for who they really are. Not all of them, I know, not all of them, but, in this movie, though, all of them are just complete animals, and they treat black people like absolute garbage. They don't want black people coming to France because they think that they're going to be vagabonds and take all the jobs away and form a sub-proletariat group and ruin everything, and I mean, it's just all BS. Vagabonds. I also just don't like that word because it reminds me of the band Venga Boys. You remember that band? Boom, 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 boom. I want you in my room so we can have crazy sex. Do, 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 do. That song. Do you remember that song? Hated that song so much. And my sister used to have their CD. Yeah. Bad band. Sorry, I'm not a fan of that band. SOLEIL, though, like, there's just the ending of this movie, too. I mean, it is so, I don't quite know how to interpret it. Like, I'm still thinking about it. But, the visitor, he's been through so much. I mean, you just want to, like, hug this guy by the end of the film. And eventually he finds himself, in the woods. And there's this white family, these white parents, and they have two little boys. And they're all having dinner outside, and it's, pleasant at first. And then it kind of goes a little bit chaotic. And the little boys start to like stand up on the table and like throw food everywhere, and the parents are just like laughing hysterically, and oh boys, like settle down. And the entire time the visitor is just standing there, sitting there with his head down, just in complete disbelief. It's kind of like a moment where he's just going like, and people think I'm crazy. People think that we're crazy. These immigrants who are just coming to just make a new life for themselves and get a job and just live. They think that we're crazy. Look at these crazy people. Yeah. That scene goes on for a long time, and it's meant to. You're meant to watch that scene and just not look away and go, God, people are so dumb. And then, the next scene is a wild sequence. The visitor, he runs off into the woods, and he starts hearing like chants. And the audio in this movie, like the sound that is, I'm sorry, it gets really intense and loud, and he's running through the forest, and you hear just, screams and screams and screams. And then it's cross-cut with these actual pictures of real-life African revolutionaries like Malcolm X. Like there's a quick shot of Malcolm X. And then it ends with this visitor. He starts screaming like maniacally, like at the top of his lungs in these woods. And then, it cuts to this other shot of the woods where we see these like posters, these pictures of these famous real life black revolutionaries. And then they all get burned. These fires just begin in front of each of the pictures. And then the movie ends with the following: to be continued. À suivre. That means to be continued. What does it all mean? Does it mean that the visitor... well, here's what I'm going to try to interpret this. I think what it means is that eventually, you can't run from your real home, Because this guy, I think he knows in this movie that this is not going to be his real home. Because if this was his home, he would be accepted and he would be happy and he wouldn't have to go through all this trouble. But he can't. So I think what Hondo is trying to show in this scene is that the past, your home is always going to follow you. It's always going to be there, and it's going to like literally attack you. In this case, I think the screaming, you can tell, I think, and I might be totally wrong, it sounds very much like, traditional African tribal chant music. So it's almost like, that is like, it's like, that's like chasing after him, he can't get away from it until eventually it just hits him and he like becomes possessed and starts screaming too, And then to be continued, I mean, that's a very chilling way to end the movie. Hondo's just kind of showing you, like, you guys decide what's going to happen next, And we know that there's been some improvement, but not enough. Not enough in France, not enough in the UK, not enough in so many countries. Definitely not enough in the United States, for crying out loud. I mean, there's just failure after failure after failure for these people, for all immigrants. Honestly, there's so many. The disconnect is just like egregious, the way that they're treated and everything. And wow, 34 minutes on the dot. And I think I'm done, honestly. I think I've said enough about this movie. I mean, it's a wild one. I loved it, though. Don't be afraid about it being experimental. Stick with it. Stick with this movie. It's just incredible how low-budget movies that are made for, like, what looks like, like $100? I mean, it's amazing how so many of them come out and they can have this effect on you. You don't need to have big special effects or big actors in it. It's just amazing. It's astounding. And I think that's what's been great about so many of these movies so far. SOLEIL especially, though. I mean, it just shows you how you don't need a lot of money. If you have a message that you want to state, and you show it in a very, very surreal but different kind of way, in a very unique way, in a multitude of ways, then eventually someone like me, and hopefully a lot of other people who love film, all these years later, will get to talk about how amazing it was. Med Hondo, rest in peace. You made a fantastic movie. SOLEIL, I cannot recommend it enough. It chilled me to the bone. It angered me. It made me laugh a lot too, because it is a very almost comical, over the top movie. But unfortunately, it's a hard movie to find. It is available on the Criterion Collection. The Criterion Collection holds like a lot of movies on Sight and Sound's list, so I highly recommend subscribing to the Criterion channel. They got a lot of great movies, a lot of amazing movies that no one's heard of that deserve to be seen. So thank you all for tuning in. This was a really fun episode. I do apologize for my crazy sense of humor. I'm going to go to bed right after this. I upload this, which is not true because I can't ever go to bed early, and it's already 10:40 p.m. Jesus Christ. No, I do got to go to bed. Thank you guys for tuning in, though. Please remember to rate your review. I always want to say rate and subscribe. I should say that, because if you're listening and you're new, please subscribe. I'm a fun guy. I swear I'm fun. I'm not usually this crazy. This is just, a lack of enough sleep, and my head is not big enough for my body for this current month with my job and so many other things happening. So I swear I'm not this crazy and weird. I mean, that's not true. But yes, also you can tell that when I don't know what else to say, I talk a lot. So I feels like I'm losing my voice too. Look at me. Ha hoo ha. SOLEIL, amazing movie. Check it out, you guys. Cannot wait to watch this next movie. I know I end every episode like that, but this was awesome. Have a good night. Have a good day. Have a good morning. Have a good everything. Bye-bye.